Welcome to How to Survive with Danielle and Kristine, the show that teaches you how to survive the things that can kill you.
Like attacking piranhas, meteor strike, losing your mom.
And the things that just make you wish you were dead.
Like wearing really impractical shoes, not knowing when to leave a really bad date. How about finding a dead body when you're going for a swim?
On the last day of your vacation.
Worst.
All right, on that note, let's play the theme song.
Ground is shaking under our feet, mountains on fire, flooding in the street. Can't breathe the air, can't fight the feeling. Goblin down, Xanax ain't the way to be dealing. Gotta do better than just getting high. We gotta stick together if we're gonna survive. How to survive. How to survive.
Welcome to How to Survive with Danielle and Kristine. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Kristine.
And we're sort of doing a different kind of episode today.
Yeah.
Because, we don't have a guest.
No, we don't.
And
We're the guests.
We're the guests. I have to start with some very sad news. Our biggest fan, my mother, has passed away. I didn't explain previously that the thing about her broken hip. That was all true. But when we brought her in for the broken hip, they discovered she had cancer. And it had already, spread and everything. And so from the time we found out to the time she passed away was like a month.
It was so fast.
It was extremely fast, extremely unexpected. And she had been, her cognition had been slipping, and she was having these pains in her hip, but it turned out the cancer was in her hip. So obviously it had started before then. I don't know how, I don't know when it started.
Yeah.
I kept trying to get her diagnosed. I didn't suspect cancer. It's not like I understood that. I just knew something was wrong, and I was trying to get her taken care of. And then she broke her hip, and then she ended up in the hospital. And then, as you know, from the hospital, she went to that fabulous doily less caretaking place.
The place where they put the food right on the tray.
Yeah. I know that might sound petty as something.
No, it's very alarming.
It's so alarming.
That, to me, it's like, how they say, judge a place by the bathrooms?
Yes.
And you're like, I don't know about this place. And then you go in the bathroom and you come out and you say, we got to leave. I just use the bathroom. I think as soon as you see they're slopping food directly on a tray,
right,
you got to get the hell out of Dodge.
Right. So, I went to public school my whole life, and my public grade school is probably the only time I regularly ate in the cafeteria. And
they
wouldn't do that.
No, they
that disgusting.
You get the melamine plate.
Melamine.
Is that what they're called? They slap the cardboard pizza on a plate.
Yeah.
They don't make you eat the cardboard pizza on the tray.
I don't think we had real plates. I feel like we probably had cardboard tray. I don't know what we had. Gosh, I'll have to ask Nora. I don't remember what the plates themselves were, but
I think ours were sort of similar.
There were compartments for everything.
It was similar to what the tray was made out of. Yeah. But it wasn't a tray. Very important distinction.
Right. And I told you about how the kids would say, "You gonna eat your Frosty?" You'd walk away.
You got a Frosty?
Yeah, we get it. It was called a Frosty. It was like a little sherbety type thing in a paper cup.
Oh, and you peel the lid off? Okay. Yeah.
And the kids would be like, "You gonna eat your Frosty?" I'd be like, "Yes, that's the only thing on here that's appealing.
Yeah.
I'm already peeling the cornbread off of the corn dog because I don't like it." And
that was back when you still ate the corn dog.
Yeah.
The meat.
Yeah, right. I wasn't trying to watch carbs or anything back then. I just didn't like the corn.
That wasn't until you were 8.
Right. And then I saw myself in a leotard in ballet. So anyway, I went to get my mom out of that place.
Yeah.
And I had, the best laid plans. I had done all this research and in a day found caregivers. So I'm just going to let people know, for people who have older parents, try to get them to buy, it's probably too late now, but try to get them to buy long-term health insurance, because that will take care of things help take care of things like having people come to your home when your parents are dying,
Yes.
or not even when they're dying, when they just need help. And
Yeah.
anyway, so they didn't have that. So
That's a really good tip. Honestly.
actually it
I'm
is.
going to check and see
I'm
if my
gonna-
parents
yeah.
have that.
Yeah. So, because it helps defer the costs. In any case, I went to pick her up and she wasn't the same person. And
In the way that she was conscious, but not really talking to you.
Exactly. She was almost nonverbal and she was conscious. I don't know if I think she knew who I was, but very confused. And just, that was pretty devastating.
Yeah.
And so I brought her home. Jimmy had bought this sort of like kind of a wheelchair thing. I mean, it is a wheelchair, but it's not like a big metal thing. It's like
It's
a
that
collapsible.
kind you can sit in and walk with.
No,
too?
it's not that. It is a seat, but it's like a cheaper, lighter thing.
Okay.
And my dad and I weren't really prepared. We were meeting the woman at our house who was going to be taking care of my mom.
Yeah.
But she wasn't coming for a couple of hours. So we somehow got my mom into the chair from the car. That was impossible. And then there are a couple of steps leading up to my parents' house.
Because it's not ready. It's not like it's already ADA set up.
No, it was.
Yeah.
We were completely naive. So we're trying to get my mom into the house. And my dad, he's 86.
Sure.
And my mom had lost a lot of weight by this point, but it was still heavy. So he fell backward with the wheelchair on top of him.
Oh,
with
my
mom in the
God. Oh, my
wheelchair.
gosh.
And me.
Oh, geez.
I mean, it's only comical because it was we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
And she did know how to say ow. So that was, she was in pain. And anyway, so when we got her there, I was so concerned and I called the doctor and they eventually told me, you need to bring her to the ER.
Okay.
So.
Not because of the wheelchair fall. But just because of
we didn't mention that. We didn't tell that to anybody. Like no one knows that. Don't tell anyone I did that.
Everyone listening, keep that to yourself.
That's on a need to know basis, and no one needs to know that. So then they send over the firemen,
Yes.
I guess, first, and once again, cliche. They're all good looking, very weird.
I remember, yes, from Benji's burn. I was like, hello.
Yeah.
I mean, I was traumatized by what was going on, but I could still notice.
Right.
I was like, look, I'm not dead.
My son
My son is in a lot of trouble
wounded,
right now.
but I'm not dead.
Holy moly.
I need to buy some matches on the way home.
Yes, you need to become an arsonist.
You've got to find, Garen, like some kind of dating website that's just firemen.
Firemen only?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure it exists.
But they did say things to me like, well, if she was declining at the home, they should have done something about it. And I'm like, no shit.
Yeah.
So you feel guilty because I felt guilty because I was like, I understood something was wrong, but in any case, I no longer think it was the home's fault. I did at the moment, but, so she got admitted into the hospital again, home sweet home. And then within a couple of days, we had a meeting with the palliative doctor and we realized like this is the end and she had to go in hospice. But she went in hospice in the hospital, which I think was best.
Okay.
So that she didn't have to like
Move to
yet another facility.
Right.
Or go home where I think it would have just been too traumatic for everybody. So, just surreal. I guess it's sort of surreal.
Yeah.
Because it just happened so quickly. And, when my brother died, it was my mom who arranged everything and got everything together and kept a straight head. And while my dad and I were like in hysterics. So now I'm the person. And I always assumed my dad would go first because he's had health problems.
Yeah.
And my mom always seemed fine, honestly.
Sure.
So the whole thing is shocking. And so I've just had to deal with a lot of the day-to-day stuff and the planning. And I'm not complaining at all. It's just, it's had this sort of strange effect that maybe I'm not completely absorbing what's going on yet. I mean, emotionally, obviously, intellectually, I know she's gone, but
Yeah.
I'm just concerned about my dad and I'm concerned about, arranging a memorial that would be up to her, standards.
Yes.
As I said to my dad, I said, Mom likes to be the center of attention. We got to make this nice. We can't just throw this in a community center. There's got to be sparkle lights and flowers. to live up to my mom's fabulousness. So, and I've heard a lot, I haven't posted it or anything, but people have found out and reached out, and neighbors of my parents, and, she belonged to a theater community called Theater of Note, which meant the world to her. And she was sort of the mom to all of them because they're all much younger.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a really hard loss for them as well. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And my mom was just, we were very different.
Yeah.
But she also influenced me in a lot of ways in terms of beliefs and also just aesthetically, she was into fashion, and she was a costume designer at one point, and she did, she was an actor, and she had a love of art and architecture and history, and she was very well-rounded, actually.
Yeah.
And also, on the other hand, very flighty and goofy and had a miniature tea set for teddy bears or something in the living room. So just very, in fact, I had before all this happened, when I just thought she was losing her marbles, I'd met with this service, and this woman had come over to my parents' house and talked to them, and actually it was on Halloween, and I was trying to get someone to come into the house to help take care of my mom a little, or at least just do things because her hip was hurting so much she couldn't really walk. And the woman said to me, "Oh, I love how they decorated for Halloween." I was like, "Yeah, that's year round. This is just their world."
Yeah.
Just lots of
Every day's Halloween.
fairy
here.
lights. And my mom actually loved Halloween. And I think it sort of killed her that she couldn't do anything this year. But she used to put out all these decorations, and she used to have Oliver help her when he was little. And she was just a very festive, sort of trying to be positive person. She really tried, even though things didn't always work out right. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. She really tried. And she really, when she was in the hospital, and I'd ask her if she was in pain, because again, her hip she had surgery on it, and she wouldn't answer me straightforward, which was another habit of hers, not to give she never answered a question completely in a straightforward manner in her life. And, but when I would ask her if it hurt, she'd say, "It'll get better."
Yeah.
So she was
always trying to put on a brave face,
trying to put on a positive, which is not my energy. So I really, admire that about her. She really, really, I always said, she lived in a fantasy world, but she did a little bit, but obviously we do that to protect ourselves and to get by in life. And if she had to have, dolls having tea or twinkle lights 365, then that's what she had to do.
That brought her joy.
And that brought her joy. So I'm, I don't know. You only met her the one time, right?
Yeah, we went to the museum to a costume
a costume exhibit.
And she was very excited about it. And really knew a lot. It was kind of impressive how much she knew about everything. I was really I was just so impressed by how much she knew about everything there and how knowledgeable she was about so many things.
She really was. If she was into something, she was into it. And she was an art major in college, I think, because her parents wouldn't let her go into theater. But then I think she switched, or she minored in theater or something. But she did a lot of set decorating and set building, probably. And like I said, she. I finally got I'm sure I'd heard the story before, but when she was in the hospital, but she was still cognizant, I was asking her about. I was like, "What was that laughing thing again?" So she this part I didn't remember, but she used to design clothes that were in some shop, some like boutique shop in Santa Monica. And this is the 60s.
Sure.
And the shopper for Laugh-In got the costumes there, got a lot of the stuff there. So Goldie Hawn ended up wearing her clothes on TV because
that's so exciting.
Yeah. And then her friend Barb, who is still her friend, was she's American, but she like grew up in Mexico or something.
Okay.
So she was on the Mexican version of Laugh-In.
That's hilarious.
She was the Goldie Hawn part, I guess. So my mom sent her either the same outfits or the patterns for the same outfits or something, so that she ended up wearing them too. Yeah.
And did your mom grow up in California?
So she grew up in Massachusetts and California. They went back a couple of times. She grew up in Pomona, which she always speaks of in shameful tones.
Okay.
She's like, oh, Pomona. But yeah, it doesn't sound like it was the most glamorous place. Not for, she's kind of a glamorous gal.
Yeah, not somebody who wants to, be in theater.
But like, so her cousin, who's like, as she would say, the closest thing she ever had was siblings. She was an only child in a time where I don't think there were a lot of only children.
Right.
So I still think that's kind of strange. But her cousin came to see my mom. He came all the way from Massachusetts. And he brought these amazing pictures with him. And you look at him and you're like, no wonder this woman thought she was going to be a star. She was so adorable. And she was so adorable as a child, and then so glamorous as in the 60s and 70s. Like I always said, she sort of looked like Audrey Hepburn a little bit. She was like slight like that, and the dark hair and the big brown eyes. And I'll link some pictures or something.
Please. I would love that.
But,
and we'll put them in the newsletter.
Yeah. But there was a picture of her. She'd always told us about this pet rabbit she had. She put on a leash.
Aww.
But there he was. There was Stinky.
Yeah.
There was a picture of my mom with Stinky the rabbit on a leash.
Yeah.
And Stinky ended up being given to the neighboring farm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Grandma wasn't like so into
wasn't
animals
having
or
it?
something. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the way back then. I mean, my mom has those stories, but they're always end in, and then my dad cooked it. And we ate it for dinner.
But did they grow up on a farm or something?
No.
So why then?
Because they were poor.
Oh, okay. Got it.
And that was just the way of things.
Was it like a pet chicken or something? Don't tell me it was like a dog or something. A rabbit. Okay, yeah.
It was like, then we ate it.
And then we ate it.
So how did she, I want to know how she ended up meeting your dad. Was he already acting? And were they both acting? Tell me the story.
So this is my brief understanding of how they met. Sorry. They both went to UCLA, but they didn't know each other there. It's a huge school. And my dad had come out here for acting. My mom was already out here. Well, my dad had gone actually to the Neighborhood Playhouse, which is a, wait, what was that? That was after college. Wait, I'm getting confused. The Neighborhood Playhouse is an famous acting school in New York. But in any case, apparently they met at a party, which my dad was dragged to. One of them was dragged to, I think, my dad. And I guess my dad's pickup line was he asked her to do a scene with him for some class or other.
Yes.
So I guess that's how it happened. Yeah.
The classic come do a scene with me. There's going to be kissing in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Very slick, Walter.
I'm so sorry. I know everyone listening probably is feeling a lot of love and care for you right now. And I think that there's no easy way for it to happen.
No.
It's so interesting because when I was in Ohio and I was talking to my aunt who lost her son when he was pretty young, he was in his early 20s. And she said to me, he had gone into the hospital and was put in the ICU pretty quickly and things didn't look good. And she said the hardest thing was how long it took.
Yeah.
And her husband said that too, that it ended up being like 11 days that they were waiting. And she said that was the worst, that it took so long. And so I think there's, in a weird way, when it is fast, maybe there's a comfort in knowing that the person didn't suffer long.
Yeah.
Even though it's hard to process, when I was in Ohio, my stepbrother died, and so that's one of the reasons we went back for Thanksgiving.
Right. So that's the other thing. Chris has also had to deal with death recently. It's kind of like
we're big on death right now here on How to Survive.
Right. How to survive death.
How to survive death. We don't know yet.
Right.
I think you just have to keep going every day is maybe one thing.
Yeah.
And the other weird thing, as you know, Danielle, is that when you have a loss and nothing else in your life stops.
Right.
It's not like the world takes a pause and says, oh, did you have a major loss in your life?
Yeah.
Well, okay, we're going to slow everything else down for you so that you can have some time to process this.
White Lotus is still going to end the final episode.
Exactly.
And you still have to watch it before everyone spoils it on the internet for you.
Yeah.
Life doesn't.
Yeah. And sometimes there's a comfort to that as well. I mean, the day, there's this very surreal moment, the day my stepbrother died, that my mom and my stepdad and my kids and my husband and I were all just still watching Jeopardy.
Yeah.
Because it was like, that's what we do.
Yeah, right.
When we're in Ohio, we all watched Jeopardy together. And it was like we still guessed the answers. And there was this moment where I was like, wow. This feels so...
And then you kind of feel guilty. And then you're like, what else am I supposed to do? Just stare at the wall?
Yeah, because you can't... At some point, you were like, I can't cry anymore.
Right.
I'm still sad.
Yeah.
But life is still moving, and I have to still cook food and wash my body and do those things.
Wash my body.
I still have to deal with the life. Anyway, just what I wanted to say about that was, the decline of my stepbrother was very fast.
Yeah.
He went into the hospital. He had these bad stomach problems. It turned out his liver was septic. And they couldn't, he was too weak. They couldn't do any kind of transplant. And then his kidneys began to fail. And they were like, we can't, he wasn't responding to antibiotics initially. And they said, there's nothing we can do. And they put him in hospice. He was 53.
Jesus.
And in hospice, the day we got into Ohio was the day they moved him to hospice. So we saw him in hospice. By the way, lovely place. I mean,
good.
It was so nice. The place was so nice that I couldn't believe it. I was like, well, this is really wonderful.
So it was a facility just for hospice?
Yes, just for hospice.
So they don't have that in California, I found out.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You can do hospice at home, or which means they're not like staying with you. They come in.
Yes.
Or there's this like a little tiny facility, but and then a hospice person can come in. But they don't have a per se hospice thing in California.
Interesting.
Which I just found out. I had no idea.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Well, they did in Ohio, and it was it was separate from a hospital. It was its own facility.
Right.
It was like a small building, very nice when you went in. It didn't feel like a hospital, but it was quiet and there were medical professionals. But we went into the room and he was in a bed that looked kind of like a hospital bed, but there was really no medical equipment.
Oh, okay.
He didn't need it anymore because they weren't doing any of those measures, but they were definitely keeping him comfortable with medication and so he wasn't in pain.
Same.
And there was a TV and lots of comfortable furniture, and his family could sleep there on chairs that pulled out into beds, and they fed them. I mean, the whole family could eat there.
Oh, wow. And was your stepbrother, he wasn't conscious?
He was. When we saw him, yeah.
Was he talking?
Yeah. I mean,
did he know what was happening?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when he went into hospice, he knew he was going to die. He knew what was up. But every day, so the day I saw him, he was like, how's it going? How's work? And how are you guys doing? And he was like, you don't have to wear a mask in here. It's fine. And it's fine. And I looked around and no one else was wearing masks. And I was like, I mean, and everybody was so loud. He was like, they might come in and yell if we're getting too loud. And then at some point his daughter said, we should go because he looks tired. And so the rest of us went into it. There was a big family room which had like a piano and a fireplace and a bunch of couches, and we all just talked. And Mike, my brother, had told me, or his daughter actually had said, he thinks our dogs have been in all day, laying on the bed with him.
Oh my God.
And I go, that's nice she didn't say he thinks, he said the dogs. And I said, it's nice they let the dogs come in. She goes, no, he's seeing stuff.
Yeah.
And my brother Mike had said, earlier he asked me to take a motorcycle out of the room. There was a big motorcycle. Okay. And that's when I was like, this is really bad.
Yeah.
And then the next day it was like every day it got worse. So then the next day he kind of just wasn't making sense anymore.
Yeah.
And then the day after that, he was gone. It was that fast. But I think my point is, like, it's good when it happens that fast.
No, I agree.
You know what I mean? It's like, you don't want them suffering. It's like, at that point, you just want it to be over for them. And I mean, I would want that for myself.
Yeah.
I don't want to stick around, like, in a lot of pain and suffering. For me,
I just wonder what that must have been like for him to know. Although then you said his mind is slipping, so maybe he doesn't know after a certain point. Because my mom didn't know. I mean, she knew she had cancer, but first of all, they never found where it was. It's a long story, but where it was coming from is what I mean to say. But so I don't know what she knew or what she didn't know, but she wasn't speaking the last few days. She had her eyes open and she was looking at us, and then she wasn't for the next couple of days.
So it's hard to know sort of like what's
But I think that's just like a thing in the person who's grieving who wants some closure, and that's like just no, I don't mean selfish in a judgmental way, but it is selfish that you just want them to like say something to you. Yeah. But
you wouldn't have time with them and then in the way you had time with them before.
Right.
And it's also hard to see them not as them.
Yeah, it's really hard. So I'm very lucky. I have a wonderful husband and a wonderful son, and I have so many friends who have checked on me, and I have a cousin. Well, I have two cousins, but my cousin, my first cousin, the one with the salad, my first cousin
caveat
has
alert.
Been just incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
She was there all the time. She was just amazing. And then another cousin of my mom's, she's not blood related, but she's the wife of a blood related. Anyway, she is an oncologist. Mm-hmm. So she would get on the phone with me and, figure things out. And so that was very helpful. So while in a sense it just feels like, oh my God, my dad and I are the only, ones left from our family. Mm-hmm. It's just so strange. Yeah. Even though everyone goes through it, it's just so strange. But in reality, I have a lot of support. And, my mom, I told Chris and Garen that at one point when my mom was in the hospital the first time, she just kept mentioning garden squirrel. And and then one time I said, oh, I have a meeting with this guy I wrote something with. And she's like, is that garden squirrel? I'm like, no, that's not garden squirrel. I think she loves gardens and she loves squirrels.
Yes.
And she loved our show. And she would always tell me, I'm going to listen to the episode today. I'm a little behind. I'm like, Mom, you don't have to tell me every time you listen to the episode. But she was very into listening. It was very sweet. I was going to get her a garden squirrel shirt for Christmas. But in any case, so I guess that wraps it up for now. I guess that's all I have to say.
Well, you know what? This is a safe space to talk about Judy anytime you want.
Thank you.
And you know what? We love moms.
Yeah.
So we love to hear about them.
Yeah.
And
get your parents on long-term, and for yourself. Look into long-term health insurance. I don't know if that's what it's called. It's called long-term something.
Yeah. That just reminds me because my grandmother didn't have that. I mean, you know, surprise, surprise, there was no money. So when she couldn't stay in, so she had lived independently in an apartment, you know, until she was in her, I think, early 80s. And then at some point she fell and broke her hip.
Yeah.
And then as the ladies in their 80s do.
Yeah.
And so what my parents had to do then is turn their, you know, they have like a split level ranch that they had to turn the basement part into an apartment. I mean, it was already kind of a finished basement. But so my brother came and built in a shower.
Wow.
And a full bathroom. It didn't have a bathroom before. And a place where she could have a microwave, and turned it into an apartment.
Wow.
And that's where my grandma lived.
Wow, that's really nice.
And, you know, they had to have a nurse come a little here and there. And that's where she stayed until she went into hospice. But, you know, they had to sort of figure it out, because they were like, oh, there's no money to put her in long-term health care.
Right.
And that wasn't an option.
It's extraordinarily expensive.
Yes.
I mean, to have someone come in the house, because that was my original plan, was to have someone come in the house. Like I said, that woman was there for like an hour before I called 911.
Yeah.
So like she worked for an hour. But that was my short-term plan. Because I just couldn't see her in that place for one more minute. But you know what? It wasn't a very realistic plan. And it's, you know, it's prohibitively expensive to have 24-hour care. I was just thought that, I don't know what I thought, but I thought if we just got her out of there, she'd get better. But it wasn't that. I don't think it helped.
Well, I don't think it hurt. I think you did the best thing you could in the moment. And
I mean, I'm saying I don't think it helped to be in that place.
Oh, right.
I mean, she was supposed to go there for physical therapy, but she was too out of it to do physical therapy.
Yeah.
Like it was unrealistic.
Yeah.
But that's what the doctor sent her to do. She just, you know, she was just very different from the time she left the hospital to the time she went back into the hospital.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Thanks. And thank you for sharing about your brother.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think this loss is we're all going to deal with it, but there's nothing that can prepare you for it.
No, nothing prepares you for being the adult children of old people too.
No.
That's really
we talked about that. That this is the kind of stuff that they do not teach you.
No.
Like you can solve for X or whatever you think, but this kind of later in life situations, because that's not far for me. Like my parents are 70, 60 something and 70 something. It's not that far off.
They're youngins. No, honestly, that's pretty young.
And my dad has a lot of health issues, but you know, it pops in my head every once in a while.
Of course.
It's closer than it is later.
Yeah,
sure.
And I for sure was in denial about a lot. I mean, not about my mom's health, because once that happened, I wasn't in denial. But before that, Jimmy would bring things up, and I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. You know, I don't, you know, but you know, you kind of got to talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, there are certain things that you can have conversations, I think, with your parents to
and I should have, because
that are important to have, you know, and definitely they're important to have. But I also think there's only so much you can do to prepare.
Yeah,
like emotionally.
Yes, but right, emotionally, but logistically, I wish I had, because I don't know where jack shit is in their house, and it's a whole thing. So yeah. Well, speaking of death, should we talk about White Lotus?
Let's talk about White Lotus. Okay, guys, we're gonna spoil. So if you have not watched, this is the time.
It's now over a week. When this airs, it'll be over a week since it aired. So hopefully you've seen it.
But if not, turn it off right now.
Yeah.
Skip ahead.
Right.
Go past the break and come back. And then you don't have to hear this, and you can come and listen later.
Right.
All right. So we've all watched.
I stayed up late to watch it because I knew some asshole on the internet would spoil it. And I was like,
oh, yeah.
I need the little pleasures right now, and I don't want the spoil.
So as of Sunday afternoon, I had watched 2 episodes.
Wow.
Oh, and then you crammed?
And my friends came over, and we were just hanging out. And my friend Jess is like, hey, did you watch White Lotus? I'm like, yeah, how far are you? She's like, I think I'm on the 2nd episode. And I just watched the 2nd episode. So I'm like, you know what? I have something I need to do. Like, I was going to unpacked Blu-rays or something to sell or whatever. So I'm like, I'll do that while we rewatch episode 2. And then we watched that. And then we did not stop.
Oh, that sounds so fun.
That sounds like a better idea.
Yeah,
so that
6 hours of White Lotus in a row.
Then you're so close to those like previous conversations, because after I watched the finale, I wanted to go back and listen to old conversations with Tanya and Greg and rewatch. Okay, so do you guys feel satisfied with the finale?
I think I do. I mean, I feel satisfied with the death. I mean, I've also read about it since then. I've read sort of Mike White saying like Tanya had to get her like moment of comeuppance. Like she had to, she killed all those people, but then she also had to die like by her own hand in a dumb way, and it was pretty funny.
So great.
It was just so funny. Everyone on Twitter was like, "Girl, take off your shoes.
I know.
What are you doing?"
I know.
And then I guess there was a ladder that she also didn't take.
Stairs literally 3 feet away from her.
An idiot.
You know what it reminded me so much of is that classic. Well, you didn't watch Sex and the City, but there's a famous episode with, I think her name's Kristen Johnson from Third Rock from the Sun, where she's at a party and she's like, "This party sucks. Doesn't anyone smoke anymore?" And she goes to this big picture window to have a cigarette, and she just fucking falls out the window to her death.
Seriously?
And it is one of my favorite things.
Oh my God.
And it just reminded me of that just like dumb.
So dumb.
Just so dumb.
But I wasn't upset about it. I thought it was pretty well done.
I love that whole
Plus,
scene.
all I could think was she's not really going to be able to claim self-defense, and she's just going to go to jail, so she might as well just die because she just killed all those people.
It was perfect. And she wasn't even trying. Like, her crying is so funny to me because she sounds like a child when she's like and just not even pointing it at anyone like a little kid.
But she did. She
and then
shot
her
them all
dead. It was perfect.
Oh, so you loved the ending. What about Garen?
I loved it.
Did you find it satisfying?
I did. I'm conflicted because I love her. And I love that character. It's so goofy and stupid. Yeah. But at the same time, I was like, she can't go through this again.
It would be insane to go through another
season.
She just keeps, and then someone online was like, "Oh no, Greg is going to get all her White Lotus points."
I hope that Greg gets his comeuppance in the next season. Like, I really hope we get to find out that he doesn't get the money.
It's been suggested that maybe he would be the one who came back. But okay, so here's my question. Mm-hmm. When in an earlier episode, the gay guy, these gays are trying to kill me. I read an article. She couldn't remember if she improvised that or if that was in the script. When she's talking to the captain, "You've got to help me. These gays are trying to kill me." Oh my God, it was so funny. Anyway, when the guy, Tom Hollander, is that his name? I think that's his name. The British guy
from Ab Fab. I think he used to be on Absolutely Fabulous.
He was?
Oh, that is what
who
he's
was
from,
he on?
isn't it?
Who was he on Absolutely Fabulous? I don't remember any men on Absolutely Fabulous.
Wasn't he the teen's boyfriend?
Oh my God. Saffron?
Wasn't he Saffron's boyfriend?
I think
Is he young enough to have been Saffron's boyfriend?
Guys, you just have to Google it.
Okay. In any case,
God, that show's so good.
He told her the story of the cowboy that he was in love with, but he was straight. So we're supposed to think that was Greg, right?
Yes, because he's in the picture.
He just called him Steve, but that's Greg.
Yeah.
Okay, because someone in one of the recaps I read was like, and really he was having an affair with Greg. And I'm like, no, I don't think, no, Greg was still straight. It's just that he pined for him.
Yeah. He said, I would do anything he asked. To this day, I would do anything he asked.
Yeah, even kill Tanya.
The villains really lay out their motives in these.
Yeah.
In the show.
Yeah. When you go back, you see it's all laid out.
All right. And then, so the couples, were you happy with the...
One of the interesting questions that Sven and I would discuss over the series was who has the better marriage? Like,
right.
And I always was like, well, I think it's actually Daphne and Cameron because even though he's completely
horrible,
a fucking terrible person, like they both are sort of aware of what they're getting. Like she knows who he is and she's just like putting a smile on,
unspoken thing.
But they're having fun at least. Like for the most part, I think she's a bit of in denial. Like, I think she kind of is swallowing her pain and kind of just...
Well,
I mean, you can kind of tell.
Yeah, it's weird that she's just adopted this philosophy that you just do whatever you do not to be a victim.
And
she said it twice.
And I don't think she's really having her own affairs. I mean, I don't think they did anything when they walked onto
you don't?
No, I don't think so. I think she's a good girl.
I think well, I'm still going back to that thing with her trainer, and then the kids being blonde and blue-eyed, and she kept saying the trainer was blonde and blue-eyed. And then then they had that moment in this last episode where Cameron is agitated that he's being called to talk to the kids.
Yeah.
And one thing I read said, well, maybe he's agitated because he knows those aren't his kids, and so he's not really into the kids.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, I'm not closed off to those ideas.
Yeah.
She just gives me the very much the sense that, like, her idea of, like, getting back at Cameron is that she just goes off to a villa and spends a bunch of money on clothes and on an expensive villa. Like, she's not out trying to, like, do drugs and fuck other guys.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't think it's in her bones. She seems very much like, we'll go off and walk and they're going to think we did something.
I see.
But she doesn't seem as interested in...
See, I think maybe she does do those things, but doesn't actually get joy from them.
Oh,
she just does it so she doesn't feel like a victim, because that's what she kept saying.
I can go either way.
Yeah.
Although I will say she's so pretty.
She's distractingly
she's
pretty.
So pretty that she's one of those people that I'm like, are you an AI bot?
Yes.
Like, how does a real person
get that pretty?
Because it's above and beyond what the rest of human existence
and
looks
in the
like.
first season, there was that other woman who was the same thing, the writer.
No, I can't remember.
Okay, she has brown hair and blue eyes. And
right.
She was so distractingly pretty to me. I was like, this is the prettiest person I've ever seen in my life. Like, I couldn't get over how pretty she was.
Maybe that's his thing with every season. He's like, there has to be someone
ridiculously
that's above and beyond, that's so pretty you can't believe it. And what I always think is that it's not realistic, because I always think when there's someone that pretty, that in the real world, someone would always be commenting on it. Like, you know what I mean? Whenever she'd go up to the bar, the bartender would be like, oh, you're so pretty. You have this drink for free. Because, I mean, I've been around people who weren't even that pretty, but were very, very, very attractive. And constantly people comment on it, like in the real world. Even in LA, where people are very attractive.
When you're used to, like, that's a good point.
It's just, I mean, I know
you feel like you have to say something. Like, I just want you to know that I also notice how beautiful you are.
Yes, people can't stop themselves.
Right.
So I know it's TV, so they're not going to do that, but
they're all such layered, really alive characters.
Yeah,
to me, like everybody, even though they're all hateable.
Yeah,
but at the same time, they're all like, you're actively trying to redeem your life.
Yes,
but you also have these urges that you're trying to.
Yeah,
it's.
I felt
really
empathy for all of them, and also disliked all of them, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I had the same thought as I was watching it, and then everyone seemed to agree in what I was reading. But the Portia, like, not running away from that guy immediately when she sensed something was up, and, like, getting in the car with him, like, it's clear he's going to kill you or something bad is going to happen. It seemed really ridiculous. So I don't know if they earned that.
That didn't bother me, because
Really?
I have had really bad judgment at times in my life, for sure. I definitely, in my head as a mom, I was like, you've got to get away from him.
Right.
You're making really poor choices. But as a person who was
think it's
in my
possible
20s,
someone would do that. Okay.
was also like, I have done really dumb stuff.
Okay.
And because I've been the person who's said, I'm being paranoid.
Oh.
I'm sure nothing's happening. I am wrong in my own thinking. I think it's very easy as a young woman to not trust your own instincts and to double down on, I'm the one who's overreacting.
Right.
And I think that, like, so that's why, I mean, I think we're supposed to think Portia's an idiot.
I think so, yeah. Plus, I mean, her dressing herself, like, she's an idiot.
Well, I think that's also part
her clothes
of
were
the
so
like
awful.
The idea of fashion in certain
age brackets.
In a certain age bracket is this intentional sort of like anti-fashion.
I know, but really bad.
Some of it was
like, really
ridiculous.
painful to look at.
But I didn't get mad about. I mean, I got mad for her because I was worried about her, but I didn't get mad at that as being wrong in the sense that I do think there is a tendency in a young woman to discount her own sense of danger and also just judgment and being with like a dumb bad guy and being like, it's probably fine. I'm the one who's...
Yeah, I'm just saying at the point where it was clear, like, it was...
Yeah.
All right, well... speaking of the choppy waters, I have to pee. So we will be right back with letters from you guys.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Right after this. Welcome back to How to Survive with Danielle and Kristine and Garden Squirrel.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
Guys, are you ready to announce a contest winner?
Yes.
This is exciting. So we are doing this for the first time live on air. Live. Garen?
Yes.
I am going to hand over my screen. So why don't you
explain to people what this is in case they don't know what the contest is?
So people who sign up for our newsletter,
right,
which you can do at our website very easily, it usually pops right up when you go to podhowtosurvive.com. And if it doesn't, there's a dedicated link. You can sign up right there.
Right.
You if you did that, you were entered into this contest
to win
a piece of merchandise.
Right. Okay.
From our merchandise, which is, we've got a bunch of new merchandise, which is very exciting.
Very exciting.
If you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend you go do that now.
Yes.
And we are giving one of these newsletter sign-uppers.
Yep. Signer-uppers.
Thank you. A piece of merchandise today.
So we are randomly going to pick right now on air to tape.
Garen is going to close his eyes and he is going to stick his finger.
I can vouch for the fact that his eyes are closed.
Oh, and he landed on Peggy Blaze.
Peggy Blaze.
Well, I don't know if her last name is Blaze, but it's P_Blaze. I'm not going to give any more information.
I think she does afternoons in Cincinnati.
Peggy Blaze. Sounds like it.
She's coming in live at the chopper.
Yeah.
Peggy Blaze. Tell us what's up with the weather.
Okay, well, congratulations, Peggy Blaze.
Congratulations. I don't know if that's your last name, but it's part of your email.
Well, it's your name now.
And I'm going to be reaching out to you, Peggy, to let you know that you are our grand prize winner of some new merchandise.
That's very exciting.
It is very exciting.
I would like to win something.
You may have already won.
Should I sign up?
You already won, Danielle.
I know. I've won.
So what's going to happen is if you want to be in our next giveaway, who knows when that's going to be?
Yeah, we're not saying it's
not going to be
imminent. But
we're not saying it's happening on the next episode because look, we're not
made of
merchandise.
Right.
We're not made of mugs. Sorry, I stepped on that really funny joke.
No.
Listen, sign up for the newsletter. What can I say? What else can I tell you?
That's all you can tell them for now.
That's all I can tell you. Oh, I took off my glasses. Bad move. I need them.
Because we are going to read some letters that you guys have sent in.
Yes, very exciting. Here we go. Gonna open this up.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too. Let's start with a letter from Doug Anderson. You ready?
Yes.
Hello, Danielle, Kristine, and Garen. My hometown of Kenosha, Wisconsin, enacted the domestic confrontation law. You know, I think this was in response to an episode we did.
Okay, about domestic confrontation.
Yeah. It was, maybe we'll remember.
Stalking or something.
Maybe about stalking. Law where someone has to be arrested on January 1st, 1992. This is from Sharon's
episode. That's
about bad neighbors.
Yeah. Okay.
I know this because my oldest brother, Jimmy, left his wife of 10 years that day, and she did not take it well. She smashed his face with the phone and bloodied him up from hitting and scratching. He called her parents to come calm her down while he packed, and they called the police instead. Jimmy called us, my mom, brother Corky, and me. They have a cute family.
I mean, really?
To say the sheriff's deputy was taking him because of the new law. We arrived there as the deputy was putting Jimmy in the back of the cruiser.
Sorry, I'm confused. What is the law?
That somebody has to be removed.
Somebody has to be removed.
Somebody's
okay,
going.
Got it. Okay.
We arrived there as the deputy was putting Jimmy in the back of the cruiser, and my mom was arguing with him that it's obvious Jimmy was injured and his wife wasn't. But the deputy kept saying, it's the new law. The guy has to be taken in. I have to go by the book, and kept using the phrase, by the book. My frazzled mother, who just lost our dad 3 months earlier to a heart attack, snapped at the deputy, well, you can take your book and stick it up your ass sideways.
That is so colorful.
Right?
I've never heard that expression. That's really good.
You know what? I bet he doesn't mind if you use it.
That's really good.
That's a good one, right?
Take your book and stick it up your ass sideways. Because then you could still see the spine, so you know what book is being put in. Yeah,
and then you
can't need it later.
Can't judge it by its cover.
Right.
Or you can.
You can't, right?
You can see it.
Yeah.
This made the deputy get out of his cruiser, but my other brother and I, that's Corky, grabbed her and almost carried her away while in unison saying, "Forgive her, we just lost our dad." All the while, Jimmy is in the backseat laughing hysterically.
No, that doesn't bode well for him.
I feel like this is like some movie.
This is pretty funny.
No charges filed. We did have to bail him out, and his ex was fined for her part. I believe they amended that law to say the abuser will be taken away, and this has provided our family with a great story for the past 30 years.
Oh.
Fun to tell at Thanksgiving.
Wow.
Hey, remember that time you were taken in for domestic violence?
And you're laughing in the backseat.
That was a good
because your
time.
mom's losing her shit.
Thanks.
I love Jimmy just laughing about it. That's funny.
What else can you do?
I guess.
You know? Thanks for the show. Keep up the great work.
Oh, well, thank you for that fantastic letter.
Thanks, Doug. All right. This is from Catherine Fleming. We just got this one. And she had emailed me to request that I had taken down the Remain Calm merchandise erroneously and then had a terrible time putting it back up. It was quite a...
I'm sorry. I've been a little AWOL this month, so I didn't know any of this was going on.
It's okay. You don't always have to know what's going on behind the curtain.
You removed all of the merchandise.
It's fine. It was just a little... There was some drama going on behind the scenes.
Okay. Is it back up?
It is.
Okay.
It's back up. And you know what?
And the new stuff.
Some exciting new colors.
Great.
It's all working out.
Okay.
Catherine Fleming. Thank you. Both my sister Jenny and I have been to very cold college football games this season. We are not used to the cold. She lives in South Mississippi and I live in Houston, Texas. She texted me the temperature at kickoff of her game at Ole Miss and let me know that I do not need to worry because she was refraining from drinking alcohol during tailgating and at the game that day. I texted back for her to let me know if she starts burrowing. My daughter,
I love it.
My daughter, 12 years old, who was reading the text over my shoulder, told me that I needed to add for her to remember to remain calm.
Oh my God.
Isn't that cute? She also had to recall tips from the bee episode at an earlier tailgate before a game. Don't swat at the bees.
Wow.
Similarly, a couple of weeks later, I was at an LSU football game with my family that was very cold and rainy for our southern selves. Jenny texted me to remind me that I should use body heat to keep us warm at the game.
Okay.
And no alcohol. With that duly noted, my family walked to the basketball arena to warm up before heading to the frigid, for us, football stadium. While there, we made one last warm pit stop so that maybe we wouldn't have to use the cold restrooms at the stadium. I started giggling while my daughter and I were in line. I remembered the tsunami episode in which your guest was at a very cold football game and had to go to the restroom. Of course, my daughter had to know what was going through my head, so I told her the story. Then she asked me to tell her, what do Danielle and Kristine say to do for hypothermia? Because she has heard me talk about that episode a bit. So we went through all of the things. Her comment was, wow, she should have listened to that. Wow, we should have listened to that before Snowmageddon 2021.
Oh.
When all of Texas was frozen and then lost electricity. I remember that. That was terrible.
Jesus, yeah.
Then we reviewed
was that when Cruz left the state to go on vacation to accompany his kids to Cancun? That, by the way, that was the Christine Blackburn episode they're talking about.
Yeah, she was when she Peter Pants
at the stadium.
God, so funny. Then we reviewed what we did during that week, and she said, well, the most important thing is that we remained calm.
Oh.
Thank you for entertaining me while I work, and thank you for uploading the Remain Calm shirts.
Oh my God.
Katie Fleming. Thank you, Katie. I love that. You guys are
this is very touching.
It's really sweet that you guys are remembering not to burrow at football games.
I know. I'm scared I wouldn't remember one thing we've talked about.
Same. That just reminded me, I heard a commercial actually while I was getting ready this morning and listening to a podcast for Burrow furniture.
No.
The brand is Burrow.
No. Never. Nope.
And I was like, oh no, there's a furniture called Burrow furniture.
No, because it comes with naked people in it.
Right? Already.
Yeah.
It's just their bones.
Yeah.
That reminds me, I like... my room's cold. I like to be really cold. And I like to have like a bunch of blankets and shit on top of me. That's kind of burrowing.
Kind of. Yeah. You were already burrowing.
Wow, I'm an early burrower.
An early adopter. Yeah. You know, it's better for sleep, though, and your health, to sleep in a cold room.
It is? Mm-hmm. Why?
You're supposed to have a colder temperature. It's scientifically proven.
To do what? You're just saying it's better, but why is it better?
That I can't explain that part. You know,
it just is.
I'm not going to hold your feet.
I only remember headlines of articles. Okay, that's all my brain can remember.
No, look, I get it.
Here's a short one from Rasha. Hi, Danielle and Kristine. I just listened to the Isolation and Horrible Neighbors episode and enjoyed hearing about Danielle's connection to Chris Maloney and his cake.
Yep.
If you want some entertainment, please check out this amazing YouTube video during which Mr. Maloney reads thirst tweets. He's the best.
Oh, my God. Okay, we'll have to put a link to that.
We'll put a link to it. Hugs from Minnesota.
He's very good about embracing
his own.
Yes, it's somehow incredibly endearing. It doesn't come off as obnoxious that he's just like, yeah, I look really good.
Yeah, why not?
He just embraces it. It's somehow funny, even though it's totally true. Yes. He looks like freaking amazing.
Probably when I think he's in his early 60s, and you can probably do that then.
Yeah,
it's not obnoxious.
Yeah,
and he's a man, and men can do that too.
Yeah, that's true.
I think if women do that,
that's true.
Who does she think she is?
Right.
Enjoying herself and being confident. Dear Kristine, Danielle, and Garen, thank you for making How to Survive. I waited until I was completely caught up with the show before writing and before leaving a review.
Oh,
I had to throw away at least 1,000 comments I wanted to make as I went through the entire catalog of episodes over the last 3 months.
Wow.
So sweet. Like so many others, I came to the show from NNF. I have long thought Danielle was one of the funniest people I've ever heard since her first appearance in the first season of NNF. I've always wished to hear more from her. Similarly, I've adored Garen for years and can no longer even imagine NNF without him.
Oh.
FYI, several years ago, I bought and read one of his books.
Oh.
Wow. That's right. I don't know if our listeners know that you have books, Garen.
Oh, my gosh.
I have 2 books.
Garen,
how do you find them?
Amazon.
Amazon.
Or go to your local store and request them.
Send me the links. I'll put them in our next newsletter. We
should,
let the listeners know.
Yeah, it'd be good to get my 20th sale.
Yes, absolutely. And recently I've been introduced to Kristine's brand of uncontrolled genius dialogue.
Yes.
Kristine, I feel like in conversation you're a clown car driving through a traffic jam.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what to expect, but I know it's going to be hilarious. Just last night, I listened to y'all comment about how hard it was to be a woman watching Three's Company. It was no easier being a gay teenage boy in the 70s and watching Jack and Mr. Roper pantomime the most horrendous gay stereotypes week after week. Am I right, Garden Squirrel?
I mean, you're right, but it made me laugh.
I think I enjoyed it because
I think there's a slight misinterpretation of our reactions to the show.
I was a kid, so I didn't know it was...
Yeah. I knew it was... I think I've said this before, that my dad literally kind of banned the show from our house because it was too stupid.
Oh, interesting.
And I watched it at my neighbor's house.
That's funny.
But then I know we watched it at our house sometimes because my dad would get mad and just go, "When is he gonna get laid?" He would yell that at the screen. So I know at some point, yeah. But no, it wasn't difficult watching it as a kid. I did not identify with the characters. I didn't think it was sexist. I mean, I may have thought it was sexist, but it didn't inhibit my enjoyment of the show that I knew was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I had no concept of sexism because I was, 7 or something. And now, of course, when rewatching it, I can see.
Yeah, but I still don't think it would bother me.
Yeah,
but that's different from being a gay kid watching it. I get. Except Garen is a traitor, and he enjoyed it.
For my own How to Survive, I wanted to write a full How to Survive the U.S. Navy, but I'll stick with one anecdote.
Dang.
In the summer of 1981, I was a midshipman between my freshman and sophomore years of college. UW in Seattle. Go Huskies! Over summers, the Navy likes to pick up all the midshipmen and throw them into the fleet for 6 weeks or so to see if they float. The first thing you learn in the fleet is that the title midshipman is equivalent to having a "Please Hurt Me" sticker pasted to your forehead. Every sailor in the fleet looks down at you. If the Navy is like family circus, being a midshipman is like being lower than Jeffy and PJ. I spent my summer cruise aboard a submarine, the USS John Marshall, SSN 611. I was assigned to the torpedo room and learned valuable skills like mopping and how to swear like a sailor. One day I was informed that the torpedo tubes had to be inspected and greased. Naturally, this had to be done from the inside.
Oh, Jesus.
Also, naturally, it had to be done by the most readily available lackey on hand, me. So I used my hand to scoop out a giant wad of thick grease and went headfirst into a torpedo tube.
Oh my God.
On my back, I had to scrunch myself forward like an upside-down inchworm, 8 inches or so at a scrunch. When I reached the forward end of the torpedo tube, the real world was a tiny circle of light far past my feet. I gobbed the grease in the appropriate places, and before I could make my exit, the chief had to shine a flashlight in to make sure I had gobbed as instructed. This next part should be absolutely no surprise at all. In case you didn't realize, the inside of a torpedo tube is not a capacious wonderland of frolic. It's tight and long. After the chief gave his okay, a couple of sailors decided to play,
no,
wouldn't it be fun if we closed the torpedo hatch while the MIDI is still in there? I don't recommend this game. With a light gone, utterly gone, or torpedo tube is a claustrophobe's next 3 years of nightmares and therapy. I held it together by freezing and not twitching a single muscle until the light reappeared behind my feet. When I scrunched my way back out, merriment abounded while I pretended to have been completely unfazed. I'm sure no one was the wiser. Wink. Thank you for entertaining me week after week. I love you all and wish you continued success with the podcast. Respectfully, I remain your fan and fellow survivor, John Coppersmith.
Well, thank you so much, John. That seems like hell on earth. Is that somehow supposed to prepare you for war?
I mean,
to be humiliated and terrified by your people who are supposed to be on your side?
I just don't even understand this whole
get the mentality.
Men working in together, and whether it's Navy or military or frats, where they're like, you know, if you want to be in this group, we're going to almost kill you.
Yeah, I mean, I get the physical side of it in terms of combat. What do they call it? Boot camp.
Yes.
But this humiliation and just the sheer terror, it's just awful.
Right? Let's.
I would tell him to just unwind with some Three's Company.
All right. I think I've got one more.
Perfect.
Hi, Danielle, Kristine, and Garen. Just wanted to write a little note to you guys and say a couple of things, all positive. First, I've listened to the show, not religiously, but often the last... Thanks.
I can take it or leave it.
When there's nothing better to do. But often the last couple months, and always enjoyed it. But I just wanted to take the time to let you know that today I listened to Mudslides and Being Us back to back, and honestly, I've not laughed that hard since I can ever remember.
Oh,
that's really sweet. Lauren,
I think you'd make a habit of listening then.
Yeah, I mean, keep it up.
Let's get that religion going.
Yes. Join our cult. Lauren Ash was hilarious, as I've always known her to be on NNF appearances. Kristine and Danielle, you guys killed me with the news reporter and the Ozark lady who lived through the mudslide. As a born and bred North Carolinian, that Ozark lady sure sounded like a lot of folks right here in NC, honestly, including me, sadly. Reminds me of Garen's famous "Aw, hell" from NNF. The entire episode was just perfect from top to bottom. And the Being Us episode was wonderful. Very sad to hear Very sad to hear all that the three of you went through at the same
Wait till
time.
she gets to this episode.
Yeah. You haven't seen anything yet. But
that was over the holidays too.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Yesterday, Benjamin said, "Mom, can we do something special today? Because it's the 1-year anniversary of me getting burned."
No. Yeah. I guess hot soup? What do you do? We're going to go to
let's boil some water on the stove.
Springs? Okay.
But awesome to hear how you took the funny you found in it and shared it with the world. Please tell Garen how freaking funny he truly is on your show and on NNF, but he really did shine sharing the appendicitis story in that episode. The show really is great, and I won't miss another episode.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Richard from Bryson City, North Carolina.
Oh, that's really, really kind.
Richard, thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody, thank you for your letters. If we didn't get to yours today, it doesn't mean we're not going to read it.
Yes, we will eventually.
We just, we got to stay within the constraints of our time, or we get yelled at.
By ourselves.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Stay tuned for more fun episodes.
And remember to sign up, and also for the newsletter, but also get your orders in for merch, fun merch.
Fun merch and fun announcements.
Yeah, and we will be right back with What did we learn today? Chris.
Okay. Yeah.
Are you ready to learn what we learned today?
I always am.
Okay. If a public school can handle a plate, then a medical rehab facility sure can.
Exactly.
Long-term health care insurance can be extremely helpful financially. LAFD may be the only firefighting organization that requires headshots. Life lesson to hold on to. It'll get better. Enjoy your joy, especially if it's setting tea for bears. I should take that back. It wasn't really bears, but it was dolls.
That's
I don't
cute.
want to make her sound like a flake. Okay, I'm going to skip that. Tom Hollander did indeed appear on AbFab playing Saf's boyfriend for 2 episodes. How did you remember that?
Oh my God.
It was years ago, so he was pretty young.
Wow.
Only 2 episodes?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Played Paulo.
How do
Paulo.
Paulo. I can't say it with a...
Who would
Italian
date
accent.
Saf?
Paulo.
She's the worst. Please use caution when sticking a book up your ass sideways. A cold sleeping environment helps lower your body temperature, making it easier to experience deep sleep. This is why you usually feel well rested after sleeping in a cold room. Plus, lower temperatures help with melatonin production and better sleep quality. Very interesting. All right.
Look at me, just saying facts.
Look at you spurting half facts and making Karen do the research.
Being right about something. Thanks, Karen.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, next week we will be back with a guest.
Exciting.
And until then, enjoy the holiday season. And always remember, remain calm.